do their conferences very well. And so far I'm satisfied that comrades in Limpopo are following all the procedures as outlined in our constitution. They registered the delegates properly. There were no arguments and battles. So we can safely say this is a very peaceful conference. Delegates are very disciplined, and you can feel the spirit of unity that is prevailing here. So on behalf of the National Executive Committee of the ANC and those who are deployed here, members of the NEC led by Comrade Togo Didiza, I want to say we are satisfied that things are being handled properly. Things are going very well, and we are happy that we will continue with this conference, not to focus just on leadership. As I said yesterday, we want them now to go after lunch to start discussing policy documents, go to commissions, so they will be doing so most of today. Of course, later in the day, you will be invited again because they will then start the process of nominating additional members. But for now, I want to say to the comrades who have been elected, all the best, Chairperson, and your team. We expect from you that you will lead our people properly here in Limpopo, focus on the challenges that our people are facing. We know, Comrade Chupu, that Limpopo is also a vast rural area. There may be challenges of water in some places, roads, sort out the potholes, ensure that agriculture thrives in this province, work with the private sector to grow the provincial economy, create jobs, particularly for young people. We have confidence in all of you that you will be able to steer the ship in the right direction. So welcome, comrades, and I'm going to then ask Comrade Stan Mathabatha to then make his remarks on behalf of the leadership, and Comrade Togo will conclude our proceedings. You may have questions to ask before she concludes, but Comrade Stan, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, TG. And the leadership present here, members of the media, our friends from the media houses. Let me thank all of you, because a conference is not a conference of delegates only. It's a conference of the community of the conference. And that includes all of us who are here, because if you are not here, those who are far away wouldn't have known that this conference is sitting, and that is a reality that we have to live with, that the conference is sitting and it is going to take decisions. Among the decisions that we are intending to take, ladies and gentlemen, it's decisions about the documents, the discussion papers that the National Executive Committee has prepared. We are also going to take decisions about the quality of service delivery in this province, like the Treasurer General was saying here, that we need to talk about roads, we need to talk about water, we need to talk about electricity, we need to talk about jobs, we need to talk about the performance of our deployees in government. Like we always say that the ANC is the center, and that brings me to the question of that I normally receive from the media of the two centers of power. Even if I go for the third term, obviously I will not go for the third term in government, because there are laws in this country, and the law stipulates that you can only be a premier for 2 terms. But the fact of the matter is that the ANC was very clear about this, that there will never be 2 centers of power. There is only one center of power, and that is the African National Congress. All other areas of deployment are there, are the areas of deployment. They are sides of the striker, our striker. They are not centers of power. So it can be that we will have 2 centers of, we will not have 2 centers of power. You'll have one center of power, which is the ANC, and comrades deployed in government. Those are some of the decisions that we are going to take today as to how do we monitor, how do we oversee the comrades that we deploy in government. Ladies and gentlemen, I must also thank the delegates and the branches of the African National Congress at home that mandated these delegates to choose or elect this leadership. I am sure that they did that carefully. They thought it very intensively and came up with an absolute resolution that this is the kind of collective that we want, and the collective that will bring a difference to the lives of our people on the ground. Because at the end of the day, that is what is critical for us as the African National Congress. A number of things have been said yesterday, and we'll still say some of them when we close, that the ANC is allergic to corruption. We really don't want to be associated with that horror called corruption. Those individuals who may be found to be corrupt within the African National Congress, will deal with them accordingly. Those comrades who are found, would be found to be ignoring or complacent about the kind of corruption that we see in the private sector, because there is a lot of corruption also in the private sector. But the ANC, as a leader of society, must ensure that even in the private sector, there is no corruption. So that is what we are elected for, ladies and gentlemen. My colleagues here, I am talking on their behalf, that we are going to work together, like we worked together in the previous PEC. Our PEC that we had with Comrade Florence, Comrade Soviet, Comrade Bioscope, and Comrade Dane was very solid and united. At times, you know, when we say we are solid and united, we don't actually mean that there are no differences. In the ANC, at the end of the day, we differ to agree. Hence, in most instances, you find that the quality of our decisions are very qualitative, because they are taken out of robust discussions. Hence, earlier on yesterday, we said this conference must be a festival of ideas. This conference must be a situation where we are going to exchange salvos, where we always say there is something called unity and struggle of opposites as a law of dialectical materialism. And that is what informs the quality of the African National Congress that you see in this province. We are united, Like I said, I think it was, I was talking to ENCA. I assured them that I'll convene a conference with them, is it a media briefing, not a conference? A media briefing with them, myself and Comrade Dickson. And I said to them, because they were asking about, who's going to close the conference and all this kind of thing. I said to them, no, as soon as we are done with this conference, I'm going to sit down with Comrade Dickson and other comrades within the leadership of the ANC, and we will plan the way forward for this province. It is not about us. It's not about animosity. We will still remain friends with Comrade Dickson, remain friends with Comrade Soviet. We are comrades at the end of the day. Comrades, I was told that I must make brief remarks. I think I have elaborated too much now. Thank you very much.
Comrade Togo, you want to speak now before they ask questions?
I think that would be better.
Yeah.
Maybe
let me come and sit this.
Or you can move these things.
These things. Yeah.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson TG and the newly elected leadership of the province of Limpopo. Indeed, yesterday we met and gave you an update on how the conference was going to go forward. There's some questions that you raised about why it took us so long, and we explained that we wanted to be thorough to ensure that each and everyone is satisfied about processes and procedures that were undertaken. And I must say that that was reflective also yesterday. When the conference had started, it adopted the rules of conference, which outlined what are the issues, or rather how the conduct of our organization, in terms of ourselves as members, must conduct ourselves in this conference, the speaking rules on how you are going to raise your hand, all of those procedural things. There was also credentials, and I know some of you might have thought, yes, as is usual, credentials are always contested. They were not. What happened yesterday is that after dinner, comrades, all of them agreed that in order to make sure that those who are guests, as invited guests, are not in conference during the time of credentials, because credentials are the ones that determine who should participate in conference and who must elect. Ideally, had we had a bigger venue, you would have demarcated that venue to make sure that those who are guests are clearly differentiated with those that are delegates to conference. So there was an agreement amongst delegates that when we come back from dinner, region by region will actually come into the hall, and the regional secretary would account for their delegates. That's what took a bit longer. But credential in terms of their adoption in conference actually took less than 20 minutes, which then allowed us to start the process of nominations and finally having an election. And we really appreciate that the way in which our delegates conducted themselves was, laudable. They also made sure that the representatives who are their observers were there, and we also want to thank them for ensuring that the quality of the outcome, all the procedures are undertaken that satisfied everybody. You were there at conference when we announced this leadership. There were none of the delegates actually indicated their displeasure because we made sure that the processes that we undertake are credible, are transparent, and everybody is satisfied about how we conduct. And we always say, may the best candidate win. Yes, there will be contestations, there will be lobbying, but those are in the nature of our conference, where delegates would express their views on what kind of leadership we want to take us from this phase to the next. And today, the membership of the ANC in Limpopo province pronounced themselves that this is the leadership that will take them forward. And I want to commend the delegates for ensuring that we increase our gender representation in the senior leadership of our organization. Last time in the 2018 conference, we only had one woman, Comrade Florence. Now our deputy chair and the treasurer of the province is a woman, which is really commendable. They are also youthful in look. Yes, so the intergeneration that we talk about is actually reflective. We saw it in the nominations. I'm sure we'll also see it in the final outcome of the entirety of the PEC. In the participation of delegates, you also saw that intergeneration is actually there. But also the various strands of our movement who form this organization as its motive forces, the workers, those who come from the working class, your intellectuals, women and youth, traditional leaders, religious community, all of them are reflected in the delegates that we're having today. And that actually gives us confidence that as we continue with our path of renewal and unity, we will be able to make sure that going forward, as we rebuild our structures, as we ensure that they connect with the matters that the communities amongst which they live are concerned about, they will make sure that they become the embodiment of what the African National Congress has always had as its mandate to actually liberate and transform South Africa and change the lives of its people. And thank you very much for not sleeping and making sure that South Africans are in touch about what is happening in this conference. You will do the same, I'm sure, in the next conference. You will be very busy this year as the fourth estate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Togo. We are now going to open for questions. We'll take only one round of questions because the Provincial Executive Committee needs full complement will still come out and address the media. Okay, I tell you that we only have 4 hands. Natasha, CD, Mulu. Capricorn. Yes.
Most questions will go to the teacher.
We can start in that order.
Natasha Perry here from SABC News. First of all, congratulations to all of you. I just want to know, I mean, the slate that Dickson, you clearly won with a high margin, you know. It was a clean sweep of your slate. What do you attribute that to? And then to Reuben and Mekekani, you're new to this leadership. What attributes do you think you'll be, contributing to this leadership? And just perhaps on a lighter note, Shem, how are you guys feeling?
So the collective as well.
Thank you so much, Tima, dear. Eyewitness News. Natasha spoke about a clean slate, the entire slate winning. I actually have a question for the Treasurer General. it's not the only province, you know. As the results were being announced, I thought to myself, another province, another clean sweep for this particular slate. What does the ANC at the top make of it? Are you concerned that you're in an era of triumphalism? What do you make of it? Is this democracy at play and that's that? Is there a different way to do things so more people are represented in whatever the outcomes are? Just wanted your thoughts on that. The way Limpopo ran the conference, there were some delays, but it's nothing compared to what we've seen, particularly around credentials in other provinces. Should this be the blueprint as you head towards December? What lessons were learned from Limpopo that you want, TG? Dr. Mathabatha, you spoke about a succession plan in terms of governance because you can't run a third term as Premier. What are your thoughts about the succession plan in the ANC? You keep saying to them you aren't leaving. Is it just as simple as the deputy must take over? Will I done my last question? You spoke also about whether you review your declarations in government. What does that mean? Does that mean a cabinet reshuffle almost immediately? How soon? Because the way people obviously stood out against you, those people will say that this is revenge for daring to stand against you. Will you tell us that they are friends? To be friends rather. I just want your take on what will happen in that space and how should we read it when it does happen, because chances are it will happen. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Moloko from ANC. I have 3 quick questions. The first one for the newly elected chairperson. I just want to know whether this contentious issue of step aside, given the fact that in this province you do have a former treasurer who was made to step aside, whether it's going to find expression and it will be debated during the commissions. So the 2 last questions are directed to the National Treasurer. The letter that was presented just this morning, presumably from Mr. Reuben Caesar, clearly given the fact that it came from a delegate, it was meant for the delegates who were there. Why did you not read it out to the delegate? And I assume that you have gone through it, thought over it. What were the contents? The last question relates to the fact that the majority of your provinces are yet to go to their provincial conferences. If I'm not mistaken, only the Limpopo is the 4th one. Are you able to just tell us who's next and what are the timelines? Do you think all the remaining 5 will go to the provincial conferences before the big one, the national conference in December?
Okay. Kumuzo.
Yes, Kumuzo from Chairperson FM. My first question is to the chairperson. Regions have indicated that they are intending to take you to the MEC top 6. I would like to have your view on that. And will you be available should that be the case? And the second one is with regard to the lobby behind the slate. There were talks around Comrade Reuben Caesar being the one who played much role for the slate to win the way it did. Can you confirm that or deny that? And what is your answer to that? And also, the last question is to Mr. Madadzhe. Congratulations, specifically because it's your first time as the Secretary of the Province. What is it that you plan to do differently in that position? Thank you.
Together with the collective.
I'm covered.
You are covered. Okay. Because they are working as a collective, so it's very important to emphasize. Okay. You are disrupting your own breathing. Okay. Okay, can we answer the questions? Treasurer, Deputy Secretary, Secretary, TG, Provincial Chair, Deputy Chair, Convener of Deployees. Certain questions for the Treasurer.
Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Microphone.
You are supposed to pick the mics.
Thank you, Chairperson. The leadership from the National Office, our media house. Let me take this opportunity to indicate, of course, that I feel very much humbled and honored to be elected under the collective of the leadership here with the stewardship of Comrade Reuben Madadzhe. He's a man of action and not a man of words. I've seen him because I've been deployed in other responsibilities of governance, of course. He used to tell us that if there is any department, any municipality, or any entity that will get an adverse, you must know that you are an adverse yourself. And indeed, we'll make sure that come the next financial audit from the Auditor General, all of us will scoop the clean audits. That's where I'm saying I feel very much honored to work under this leadership of the collective of the stewardship of Comrade Reuben Madadzhe. Thank you so much.
DPS.
Okay, yeah, I think there is only one question which was raised to the TG, but I think I can share the experience because the previous PC mandated me to lead the credentials. And as Comrade Toko spoke about that, it did not take 20 minutes to adopt the credentials, and it was not necessarily questioned because of what we did as a province and what is it that maybe Comrade Toko will share because they were guiding us as well. We had the ample time to run our BGMs. We had almost more than 2 months. We allowed our branches to try, fail, but also allowed the process to run. But after the reports were signed at the national level, we did pre-registration there in regions and had good time to deal with either dispute, whichever was there. At the time we did our final registration, all our disputes were cleared both from the regions, province, and national. That's why one of the things you did not hear, which nobody mentioned here, there was no any intention from any sector to either litigate the conference because everybody was given an opportunity. Whatever people will try, it will be with regard to regions, but the provincial conference running preparations were so clinical, and I think it's one thing that assisted us, and branches were cooperative, but also national were guiding us. But office of the TG, also acting in the capacity of the SG, they were very much helpful in making sure that whatever we want from national, we always get it. Even how we dealt with registration, we were helped by the team from national. So I think national has the capacity to run it, despite that the workload will be higher when you go to national conference. But I think they are gaining enough experience. Those people are working at the national level. So I thought that would be the only experience I can share with this. Nevertheless, there were no specific questions to my side.
No, thanks, TPS. That's very helpful. Brand new PS.
No, thank you very much. Let me appreciate your presence, brothers and sisters. You have asked me 2 questions that when I classify them, it's one question. The other one talks to what are the things that I'm going to do differently. You will understand that in the ANC, you don't work as an individual. You work within the collective, and I don't think the office of the provincial secretary has some certain prerogative powers. So whatever I do within the collective. So I think it's fair enough to say we're going to work as collective, not as individuals. I don't want to make commitments like I'm a candidate of a ward, addressing a community meeting where I would say I'll deliver water, I'll deliver roads. I don't want, otherwise tomorrow you are going to hold me accountable for that. I think the other issue, it has to do with how am I feeling. I mean, it's business as usual. I mean, yes, you can see there is nothing new to me. It's just a responsibility that has been given to me and the collective by the branches of the ANC. It's a challenge to me and the collective. So I think that is the long and short of it. Thank you very much, Provincial Chair.
Yes, our brand new PS, sweet and short.
Good afternoon to our TG and NEC members and also the provincial chair and elected officials, as well as all the media who are here. I just want to indicate that under the leadership of the provincial chair previously, he was always encouraging us to contribute individually and collectively in terms of eliminating all the weaknesses that are bedeviling the ANC. So hence you saw us as the province, we managed to comply with the ANC constitutional imperative in terms of convening our provincial conference within a required time. We never wait for the term of office to lapse, because if we are committed about renewing and rebuilding, we must ensure that whatever we do, we are within the parameters of our own policies, our own constitution, and our own principles as the organization. Because if we fail to do that, the question will be, how best can we address the socio-economic challenges facing our people if we can't, on our own, respect the rules that are there? So those are the issues that I wanted to indicate, to say, under the chairperson, we will continue to do our best. We will continue to make sure that this renewal and rebuilding program is realized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Chair.
That's where we're going to leave that briefing that's currently underway. Of course, new leadership has been elected in Limpopo. Stan Mathabatha has been re-elected as the provincial chair in Limpopo for the ANC. Of course, our team is there and will bring you all that you need to know, and that's where we're going to leave it for all angles for today. Thank you to the team behind the scenes and to you at home for always watching. Up next is the Best of Power to Truth with Dr. JJ Tabane. I'll be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Take care and stay safe.